Hello and welcome to this video on what might be called the two spiritual laws of abundance. They both appear in the book The Spiritual Laws of Life by Harold Clem, the spiritual leader of Eckankar. This video is not sponsored by Eckankar, but you'll find links below for more information. What are these two spiritual laws? They are the law of gratitude and the law of plenty. Essentially, they are both attitudes. One is looking for the best in any situation. The other is trusting in life to provide. The law of gratitude is described like this. Abundance flourishes in a grateful heart. Gratitude is the secret of love. Life will be more rewarding when we learn the secret of gratitude. The window of gratitude opens to us the heavens of God. There are some people who are happy under the most severe conditions and physical hardships you can imagine. They are happy even when they have no food, no shelter. Yet in our affluent society, there are people who are unhappy, although they can have everything they want. With every material thing in hand, they blame others for what they don't have, probably because they haven't yet shown gratitude for what God has given them. Ungrateful people can never be happy. They can never be generous because their world begins and ends within themselves. It's a totally self-centered world. To grow spiritually, you have to somehow get to be a person with your attention on God, on love. Then you'll find the great things in the little things. In a nutshell, gratitude is the attitude of being happy and thankful for all the goodness we enjoy. No matter how destitute we may be, there is always something to be grateful for. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Dr. Viktor Frankl, a survivor of Auschwitz, told about how he reminded his starving and exhausted fellow inmates as they fell asleep at night about the many little things they could be grateful for during the darkest days of the Holocaust. They had to reach, oh so deep, into the bottom of their hearts to partake. He discovered that only those who chose to be grateful survived. Counting their blessings, no matter how trifling, kept the precarious candle flame of their spirit alive. But those who in bitterness could only see evil died as the will to live was slowly and relentlessly crushed out of them. Gratitude is mighty. It gives us the power of God. It helps us to survive anything. Compared to Holocaust survivors, my life has been a walk in a park. But like everyone else, I suffered my own unique hardships. When I was a child, school was something I hated and dreaded. Although I did well at math and art, I did extremely badly at everything else. The problem was verbal comprehension. I thought in images. Somehow I never learned to think in words. Numbers and art were images, so I had no problem with them. But unless words were used to create an image, like a story, I was lost. When the teacher talked, I understood the individual words she spoke, but I couldn't put them together in my mind that made any sense. They were just a meaningless jumble. She would get so angry with me that she would blow up and scream. She frightened and shamed me so badly I wanted to die. This happened every few days. I had no idea what would trip the next explosion. My marks were so bad, I had nightmares of one failed test after another. I even contemplated suicide. I went through several years of this. However, I developed a technique to make it through. Like the Romans, I divided and conquered. I broke each day into parts. Although I dreaded the following day when I went to bed, I trained myself to focus only on the first pleasant event of the day. That was breakfast, with all the good things to eat. This gave me something, however small, to be excited about. It was something I had control over. I had no control over what happened in class, but I made each day start well, and I made each day end well too. Whatever I could control, I made it good. Then when school was done for the day, I was free. I'd survived one more awful day at school. Now I could celebrate a small victory and have fun. Focusing on these pleasant things got me through some very hard times. The honey of gratitude helped me to break this bitter, galling medicine into manageable doses, so that I could weather it with some measure of grace. Gratitude even makes something good out of ordinary routine life. It helps us to truly appreciate all the good things we enjoy, and it keeps us from taking anything for granted. My parents were missionaries to Japan. The whole time I grew up, money was tight. We lived on support from small churches and individuals who deeply believed in my parents' mission, often making great sacrifices for us. They were people from all walks of life, farmers, lumber mill owners, shopkeepers, even a former Prime Minister of Canada. Therefore, my parents felt a sacred obligation of trust to put the money to best missionary use. They were responsible to a fault. As their son, I experienced this firsthand. Beyond some very basic food, clothing, and shelter requirements, we had very little. Of course, all vices were out of the question. Few people today can imagine such deprivation, but I never felt poor or deprived. The reason was I was happy. I had loving parents and siblings. We had enough to eat, and the food was wonderful. Home was always cozy. Our entertainment came from reading or telling stories, making music and song together, board games, going on outings, visiting friends, and playing outside. For me, if I wasn't cold or hungry or destitute, I had no complaints. I grew up not knowing what else in physical life actually mattered. Sure, like everyone else, I wanted nice things too, but it didn't matter a whole lot to me if they were beyond my reach. I never felt cheated or entitled. I never felt obligated to strive for what everyone else thought they should have. Just being open to life's gifts as I earned my way has naturally brought me all the things I've ever wanted. Therefore, I've always been content, just grateful to be alive. Gratitude is a remarkably stress-free way of life. It keeps the door wide open for more of the goodness of life to flow in. This brings us to the law of plenty. It's described like this. We live according to the law of plenty when we go about life with love and thanksgiving. The viewpoint that there is enough for everybody, more than enough if people know how to find the blessings of God. This person had a good perspective on the law of plenty. He felt he was rich because he had a loving mate, loving children, and a good home. He was rich in a way that probably no one else on earth could understand. Sometimes people who consider themselves rich don't have a home, but they have friends. They say, "I'm happy here, and I'm growing spiritually." I think these are people who are living according to the law of plenty. They have found the richness of the Holy Spirit within them, and because they have, they are the ones who go out into the world and give much more than wealth to the people they meet every day. If you want to bring more of the blessings of God into your life, first of all sit down and determine what you would like to have in your life. You have to know that first. Then make a reasonable plan to reach it. Then remember to sing Hugh, the love song to God. Go about your life with love and thanksgiving. If you can do that, I think you'll find that the law of plenty does work. I think you'll find yourself the richest of people. The law of plenty says there is always enough for all, and more than enough. Therefore, we can afford to be kind and generous in any situation. Let's have a look at some historical examples. As a young teen in the early 1970s, I was taught there was going to be a population explosion. There would be so many people we would run out of food. This was a frightening specter. World population has indeed expanded rapidly. We now have 8 billion people today, 3 times the population of when I was born, which was only about 70 years ago. But have we run out of food? Hardly. Individual people don't just sit idly by waiting to starve. Instead, they took care of the problem. We now enjoy more and a greater variety of food than ever, and starvation has become a rare exception caused only by gross inhumanity. Individual people have made agriculture so efficient that countries that were once starving and poverty-stricken have become food exporters. China and Japan are prime examples. This is the law of plenty at work. Also during the 1970s, it was said we had reached peak oil and we were going to run out. This too was a frightening specter. how we were going to travel, get our electricity, or keep warm in the winter. But did we run out of oil? Hardly. Whatever your take on fossil fuels, it's now known that we have enough reserves to last us for centuries, much longer if we find something better to use. How did this happen? Individual people got to work and found more and more and more. Add to this all the new sources of energy, including clean sources and renewables being discovered, researched, and developed by individual people all the time. It's a law of plenty at work. One more important example from history. Back when the Industrial Revolution was getting started at the turn of the 19th century in England, steam-powered automated looms began to replace hand-operating looms. Production started to soar, and textiles started to get cheap and plentiful. But there was one problem. They were putting the hand weavers out of work. Many of them got together and angrily went about destroying the new machinery. Of course, this didn't help anyone. Things settled as they learned to fill new needs. Around the turn of the 20th century, newspapers predicted a 4-hour workday. People thought rapid automation would eliminate half the work. Did this happen? Hardly. Over the next century or so, full-time work has remained to this day. Since the turn of this present century, some people have been calling for a universal basic income, because they believe robots and artificial intelligence will take all our jobs away. It's just one more frightening specter that I don't believe exists, for good reason. The last 200 years of ever-increasing automation has proven that we will never, ever run out of work. As technology advances, needs change. This is the thing. Human needs will never go away. They just change form. Booming work opportunities always follow the needs. It's just the law of plenty at work, creating plenty of work. An old adage from early America goes like this: use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. This philosophy follows the law of plenty because it makes sure that nothing gets wasted. It's the other side of the same coin. In other words, frugality. I enjoy living in a way where little gets wasted. It helps to grow up as a missionary lad. I learned to repurpose everything when it wore out. I try not to buy anything unless I'm sure I'm going to get plenty of use out of it. And of course, I don't want anything so much I'll go into debt for it. Having plenty to spare gives me the great pleasure of donating generously to the causes I love, and to be kind to everyone I meet. This is the nature of the law of plenty. I've learned that when I focus on something and nurture it in my consciousness, it expands and becomes more and more part of my reality. Therefore, I always try to stay focused on things of joy and wonder. When negative things intrude, as they do, I adjust my attitude by singing Hugh, a love song to God. The gratitude I feel for God's love and goodness to me when I sing this song has a magical effect. It totally neutralizes any fears or other negative reactions that come up within me. It keeps me in harmony with life. You sing it with a deep breath like this. Sing it with love. Sing it every day. It brings protection, love, and peace. It can open you to the power of God. You may find its power and goodness nothing short of amazing, and there's always plenty more where it comes from. The windows of heaven open up an infinite supply with these two laws, the laws of gratitude and plenty. Thank you for watching.